Good time of day, guys. My name is Godzi, and welcome back to another episode of Higurashi When They Cry, Ch.6 Tsumihoroboshi. Last episode, Rena killed Teppei and continued her whole monologue, or her whole story of how we came to where we are right now. And I get the feeling that this episode's going to be incredibly painful. I just get the feeling it's gonna be, in one way or another. Like, I don't fully remember exactly how things escalate from here, but I know that they do. So I guess the only way to find out is to just continue and see how it goes.
So, that's it.
Rena finished making her confession. There was no applause or curtain call. It was a quiet and lonely stage that Rena performed on alone. I think I'd forgotten to blink since her confession started. Everybody else seemed to be feeling the same way. Rena looked at us like she was a teacher waiting for questions from her students. We noticed that she was imitating what Chie-sensei does at the end of class, and we all smiled bitterly.
I went to Yagauchi earlier to find a place to bury these bags. It was hard to pick a place because I wanted to make sure that nobody would ever find them. I even thought about burying them in my backyard, because it might be the safest. But after I thought about it, I knew that wouldn't work. My father might start planting vegetables one day, and he might find them. So, it's better that I bury them somewhere in the mountains. Plus, I don't ever want to let her near my father, even though she's dead.
I felt like I did something very bad. Rena's plan was going smoothly. If I'd only hunted for the mahjong tiles instead of insisting on doing something else, this wouldn't have happened. When I looked at the others, they all seemed to be regretting their actions too. If Mion hadn't come up with the idea to play at the garbage dump, if Satoko hadn't found the broken refrigerator, if Rika-chan had convinced us not to go, Rena could have had a few more days, and she could have gotten rid of these trash bags. They never would have been found. So wait, Satoko opened the fucking fridge that she presumably put the bodies in, I guess? Then what would have happened next? Nothing. Everything would have remained the same. We could have kept having happy and peaceful days. Rena had been through a hard time, but she'd been forcing her face into a smile for us. The fake smile was supposed to become a real smile one day. None of us were supposed to notice that Rena was going through a hard time. After a while, Rena was supposed to be able to forget the bitter memory of killing these two, and she was supposed to live as if nothing had happened. But now, all of her effort, all her courage, had been ruined.
I know killing people is a bad thing to do. I didn't want to do this, and I don't want to do it again in the future. But I believe this was the best solution, and I also believe I didn't do anything wrong. I just applied my utmost efforts when God presented me with the equal opportunity to regain my happy, peaceful life. Saying we should accept suffering and live an immaterial life without desires is nothing more than pretty words from those who have plenty. Nobody can belittle my efforts. Rather, they should praise me for what I did. They should celebrate for me. Rena Ryugu fought for her own fate, and she won.
I don't know why I did it, but I interrupted her. I shouldn't have. But I thought I needed to tell her this, so I did. But, Rena, why didn't you tell us?
What do you mean?
We're friends, aren't we? Friends are always on your side without exception, no matter what. I thought friends were like family. If you told us about it, we could have helped you. Then you wouldn't have had to get your hands dirty. What Rena told us made us... I can't read. What Rena told us made me sad. I couldn't help myself from saying that to her. Rena told us straight that she did the best she could. She told us that right to our faces. That's the same thing as saying that she didn't need us in order to do the best she could. I suppose I understand that. Kei-chan, you can say that now, but wait, let me finish. I believe that friends are there to share both happiness and hardship. If you came to talk to us, I believe we could have done something different, and we could have led you to a better future.
A better future? There's no better future than what I have right now. This is the best possible future.
That's a lie! My shout seemed to scare her a little. I knew that Rena didn't believe that this was the best possible future. She just didn't have any other choice. If she'd had other choices, she definitely wouldn't have chosen this one. I know you don't believe that, because you're crying!
What? Who's crying? Me? I'm not crying.
Yes, you are! You've been crying the whole time! Haven't you noticed it? In fact, I didn't see any tears in her eyes or on her face at all. But that didn't mean she wasn't crying. Rena was crying. She was crying because she was driven into a corner after all the hard work she did to become happy. Her tears looked so sad. Anyone who couldn't see those tears wasn't really thinking about her.
I'm not crying. I won't cry. I did the right thing. I made the right choice. There's no reason for me to cry. That's ridiculous. I have no idea what you're talking about, Keiichi.
Interesting how she doesn't call him Keiichi-kun here. I know it. You're crying right now! That was supposed to be more of a shout, I guess. Rena stopped laughing all of a sudden, and she spoke with a cold expression on her face.
Okay. Let's say I did what you just told me. I told you all about my father and that woman. Then what?
Well,
Then what?
Rena had never talked to me like this before. It was as if she was mocking my ignorance, and that made me shut my mouth.
You don't know what happened last year.
Last year?
Yeah, last year. It happened in June of 1982. There was someone who had no choice but to kill a person to free himself from his misfortune.
Satoko gasped.
Keiichi-kun, I don't think you know much about him. About Satoshi Hojo-kun.
I know that he's Satoko's older brother. He's been missing, but people say he transferred. There's a rumor that he killed his aunt for Satoko's sake. Therefore, it's been taboo to talk about Satoshi in my class. Actually, in all of Hinamizawa.
Satoshi-kun was under the same conditions as I was. He just wanted to have happy and peaceful days. He just wanted to live peacefully and quietly with his sister. You've heard about what kind of person Satoko-chan's aunt was, haven't you?
If what I've heard is true, this is what happened. After Satoko lost her parents, her uncle and aunt got custody of her and her brother, but they were miserable people. Her aunt was especially cruel to Satoko. Satoshi was the kind of guy who wouldn't even hurt a fly, but his aunt probably was the only one whom he didn't have a problem killing. That's how terrible a person she was.
Everybody in Hinamizawa knew about the trouble the Hojo family had. Everybody knew that their aunt was a hysterical and crazy person, and that she bullied Satoshi-kun and Satoko-chan. Everybody knew everything. Everybody in our class knew it too. Mi-chan, the future head of the three families, knew it. Rika-chan knew it, and Satoko-chan knew it too, of course, because she was the one experiencing it. The friends you're talking about knew what Satoshi-kun was going through more than anybody in Hinamizawa. And what happened? Did anybody help Satoshi-kun? No, nobody did. Mi-chan had the most influence out of all of us, but she made up a lame excuse, saying that it might create a conflict between the Sonozaki family and the villagers. In the end, all she did was hurt...
Wait. Okay.
All she did was hurting him by offering her sympathy.
That's not true!
Yes, it is! Satoshi-kun knew it too. He knew that you were only pretending to sympathize with him. He knew that you had no intention to help him. That's why Satoshi-kun started to hate you, Mi-chan. He said that you always told him you were his friend, but But after all that, you turned out to be just another Sonozaki. Just another person who bullied the Hojo family.
I didn't mean to.
You didn't do anything to help him. You rejected his request for help by sympathizing with him. Do you have any idea how much that hurt?
Mion tried to find something to say, but failed to do so. She bit her lip instead.
Rika-chan, you were the same too.
Now Rena was pointing fingers at Rika-chan. Unlike Mion, Rika-chan looked emotionless and empty, just like Rena did.
Rika-chan, you don't have the kind of power in Hinamizawa that Mi-chan does. But your word carries a lot of weight with the old people who come to your shrine, don't they? There was something you could have done for him, but you didn't. Rika-chan, you did exactly the same thing as Mi-chan did. You just pretended to be his friend. All you did was sympathize with him and Satoko-chan. You didn't try to help them out of the trouble they were in. Can you imagine how cruel and merciless your sympathy was to them? Satoshi-kun wanted help. He wanted somebody to help him. He was at a dead end and couldn't get out of there by himself. He was sinking all the way down to his neck in a swamp, reaching for help and waiting for somebody to grab his hand. You're right.
Oh, wait. No, sorry, said that wrong. You're right. Rika-chan's voice sounded mature. It was very different from how she usually sounded. I didn't know how to save them. All I could do was to offer them some consolation. I'm not going to deny it, nor am I going to make excuses for my sin of not trying hard enough to find a way to save them.
I didn't know you knew.
Rena gave her a twisted smile. That ugliness caused me to look away.
And Satoko-chan, I don't know if you'll believe me when I say this, but you're weighed down with sin too.
I didn't understand why she was blaming Satoko. I tried to take her side, but I gasped in surprise when I looked at her. She looked like she was accepting the sin that Rena had mentioned. Satoko must have wanted to confess her sin before Rena pointed it out to her. And so, Satoko opened her mouth first.
I don't know if you'll believe me when I tell you this either, but I realized it on my own. I know what my sin is. I see. I realized it on that night Nini disappeared. I wish I'd realized it while he was still there. I understand how you feel. That sense that it was too late for regrets, right? I feel the same way. It happened to me before. That's why I fought this time. Satoko-chan, I'm sure you can atone for your guilt in the future, because you realized what you did. But that won't bring Nini back. He's not coming back.
Satoko looked down sadly. Usually, Satoko would say the opposite. She always said that Satoshi was coming back one day without a doubt. But now, she accepted the fact that he would never return. She accepted it easily, as if she knew it already, because he's her brother.
Do you understand now?
She asked me all of a sudden.
That's how they were in 1982. Satoshi-kun talked to everybody he thought could help him. He told them that he needed help. He told them what he was going through. He consulted with them. He even came to see me, even though I had just moved here at that time. I don't think it was embarrassing or shameful that he did that. People get desperate when they're unhappy. Satoshi-kun tried very hard. But he couldn't do anything about the situation, and he asked for help. He kept asking for help. She said that friends are always on your side no matter what, but this is what friends really are. They're actually just people you hang around with for fun. They don't help you when you need them. Friends are always like that. That's why I decided not to tell anybody when I found out that I was in the same situation as Satoshi-kun. I knew that nobody would help me and that nobody could. I didn't need sympathy. It only makes me feel worse. It's better that I, at least, have fun at school. In fact, I did have fun at school. I was very happy. I was able to forget about the trouble I had with that woman, even if only for a short amount of time at school. I wish Satoshi-kun could have done that too. If he did, he wouldn't have had to feel constantly hopeless, and he could have at least enjoyed his time at school. He didn't have any other choice than beating his aunt to death anyway. I didn't know how to help him at that time because I just moved here. All I could do was to listen to him and try to make him feel better. But there might have been something more I could have done. I might have been lazy in thinking about what I could do. But at that time, in 1982, I thought I was his friend.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, not okay. We have a Shion moment. I don't think I can voice wailing screams. This does hurt, though. Won't say it doesn't hurt. Rena's self-derisive laughter changed into grievous sobs. Her tears gradually wore away at our relationship of trust. Nobody will help me. Friends are just people whom you have fun with. You can't trust them. The more Rena cried, the clearer we heard her voice in her heart. Mion, Satoko, and Rika-chan looked into the distance with sad expressions on their faces. I was the only one who could say anything back to her now. I had to tell her this, and she knew it too. She just needed to hear it from someone. I braced myself to tell her something that might hurt everybody. I understand, Rena. I understand what happened in 1982. I understand that they were heartless, but Satoko also told you this. They've realized their sins. They regretted what they did and didn't do. So, it should be different this time. They can understand your pain, and they can help you.
You weren't here last year. I'm afraid you don't know what you're talking about.
That's right! I wasn't here last year. I wish I were! If I was here last year, I would have fought for Satoshi!
You're lying!
I'm not lying! I've learned how important friends are since I moved to Hinamizawa. I'll fight for my friends! If I was here last year and knew what Satoko's aunt did to her and Satoshi, I wouldn't have given Satoshi the opportunity to beat her to death. I would have done it myself! I would have done it in 1500 seconds. I can't, no. Why'd you have to go and say that, Keiichi? I was on a roll, at least trying to do my best to voice act for you. And then you go and say that. That is, you are being cool, though. I wouldn't have even hesitated. I would have beaten her to death with a metal bat.
That's easy for you to say. But you don't know the kind of determination you need to kill another person.
I don't know that, and I don't need to know that either. You know why? Because it's an obligation to help your friends.
You don't understand, Keiichi-kun. You don't know how disgusting it is to kill a person. You can never get rid of the dirt on your hands, no matter how hard you try to justify it.
You're right. Killing a person in order to save your friends is such a short-sighted way of thinking. It might sound like I'm contradicting myself, but I think things aren't meant to go well when you take care of an evil matter by doing an evil deed. I'm proud of my conviction that I wouldn't hesitate to kill a person for the sake of my friends. But the peace I get by doing an evil deed won't last forever. We all know that by instinct. That's why we all despise evil things, I think.
What? I have no idea what you're talking about.
She didn't have to tell me that. I was aware I wasn't making any sense. But, for some reason, I could easily imagine a world like that. A world in which I saved my precious friends by committing an evil act. Oh? The peace I seized by doing that evil deed didn't last long. It got worse. It ended in a way as terrible as the sin I committed. This was a memory that shouldn't exist. I don't know why, but I know for a fact that it happened in that world of possibility. Yo! Okay. I'm sorry. I don't know what I'm talking about. For some weird reason, I couldn't prevent myself from smiling in embarrassment even in a situation like this. But you know it too, don't you, Rena? You know that you didn't want to get your hands dirty. You're crying because you wanted us to help you, but we didn't. You didn't want to be a murderer. You're lying when you claim that this was the best choice you could have made. That's why you've been crying.
That's not true! That's not true! That's not true! That's not true! That's not true!
You know better than anybody if it's true or not. You've been regretting this from the beginning. Even if you were able to hide the corpses without getting caught, you could never have washed the blood off your hands. How are you going to fool yourself into believing that you won't have to live the rest of your life bearing the burden of your sin? There's only one way to do that. You have to believe that this was the only choice. That means you have to live your life denying your friends, and denying that your friends are worth asking for help. Are we worth nothing to you, Rena? Of course not! You always believed that friends exist to help each other. Your friends were immature last year. That's why they couldn't help Satoshi from his unfortunate fate. But people grow up. We don't make the same mistake twice. We don't want to regret the same thing twice. So, believe me, we're your friends. We're on your side.
So what you're saying is that I was immature too, right?
Yeah, I am. You were immature because you couldn't believe that your friends grew up. But I'm not going to blame you for that. We didn't notice until today that you've been going through such a hard time all alone. People can communicate their feelings only by talking to others. So there was nothing we could do because we didn't talk. In that sense, it's hard to say it. But we have to admit that this was meant to happen today in order to make your choice the best one for real. We finally talked about our feelings. We now know that you've been distrusting your friends since last year, and that everybody regretted both what they did and didn't do. So now, we finally became true friends.
Finally. But it's too late. We only notice our sins after it's too late.
That's not necessarily true. For example, as your friend, I can understand the things you've done. This time.
What do you mean by that?
I understand that depriving people of their lives is an unforgivable crime. But I also understand that my friend, Rena, had no other choice but to do this. So I don't think you're filthy, and I'm not scared of you. If something like this happens again, we should talk and think about what we can do together. But this already happened, and I understand that. When I say I understand, I mean I forgive you. I don't hate you for what you did. I said that to everybody this time. I said it to all my friends. I accept what Rena did. I accept that she had no choice other than to do this, and that this was her last resort after thinking it through many times. So, I'm going to side with her. Kei-chan. Of course, if she killed them for money or some other stupid reason, I'd drag her to the police. But that wasn't why Rena did this. She couldn't run away, and she thought it through before she came to this point. If she's guilty of anything, she's only guilty for not talking to us about it beforehand. But I forgive her for that, too. I forgive her for coming to this point. Keiichi. So, I beg you all, please forgive me for not noticing Rena's situation and for letting her go through it alone. My sin is that I allowed a day like today to come to pass.
Keiichi-san.
We're the only ones who know about these bags. If we keep it to ourselves, everything will be fine. Rena doesn't have to worry about a thing. Let's hide them somewhere like she planned. We'll cleanse ourselves with salt later, and that's it. Let's forgive each other for our sins. And then we'll regain our happy and peaceful days. This is it, right? Rena, this is the future you chose, right? This is the best possible choice, right?
Keiichi-kun.
I jumped on the hood of the abandoned car Rena was standing on, and I reached for her hands. Admit it! This is the world you wanted. This is the choice you wanted to make. But this This is something that you can't choose by yourself. All of us have to reach for each other's hands, so that Rena can make the choice. In other words, I can't make it happen by myself. I need everybody to reach for each other's hands. So, Rena, you need to do it too. When all of us hold hands together, that's when you can go to the world that exists beyond the choice you made.
Keiichi-kun, I appreciate it. If you really mean it. But... I'm not sure if that's what everybody else wants.
A little hand touched mine. It was Rika-chan.
Rika-chan!
I don't know what voice she's using right now. I'm just gonna assume it's still, Rika 2. Rena, you aren't filthy. You didn't give up. You seized your fate even though you had to dirty your hands to do it. I have no reason not to accept you. Rika-chan's small hand was strong, and she spoke eloquently. I know how comfortable it feels to be stained by disappointment at everything in this world, after getting lost in a maze of misfortune. That's why I can understand how strong you are and how hard you fought, alone, without giving up. I'm proud of having you in my life. I agree with Keiichi. I forgive you for your sin. So please forgive me for mine, too.
Rika-chan?
I'm just a little girl without any power, but I could have fought. I'll not give up on my fate. I'll fight like you did. So, I ask you to accept me as your friend. Rika-chan usually acts childish, but now she was like a totally different person. She meant every word she was saying. And then another little hand reached out to ours. Satoko. Satoko put her hand over mine and Rika-chan's. She didn't say anything, looking down for a while. Rika-chan urged her to speak.
Rika and I lost both our parents. We never cried about it, however, because we have you, a family made of friends. I want us to continue to be a family for you. It's natural to get it all out and to confess everything to your family because, well, they are your family. So I think today was a great opportunity for us. I appreciate that we had the chance to forgive each other for our sins.
A family made of friends. Satoko, I like that.
I forgive you for your sin, Rena-san. Please forgive me for mine, too.
A big hand reached out for ours. It was Mion's. I always thought it was my job as the leader of this club to talk about the importance of friends. So, I guess I'm not that good a leader after all, huh? Mion. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to make fun of you. Mion still smiled and scratched her head. Rena, I'm ashamed of myself, as your friend and as the club president, for not being able to notice what you've been through. I'd like you to forgive me for that. Of course, I also forgive you for not telling us about it. You couldn't tell me because I wasn't good enough for you. I thought I was trying to be a good leader for you, but I guess I wasn't doing my job. It's my fault. So, I forgive you for your sin, Rena. Rena! Now you have all of our hands! We're all ready for you! It's your turn! Reach out for us! Come to us! This is the world you wanted! You have all of our hands right here for you to reach! So, don't hesitate!
I'm a murderer! I'll get you guys into trouble!
Rena, we are... Rika-chan, you don't need to say anything. We're all reaching for your hand! What else do we need to say or prove? Rena, you don't need to say anything! All you need to do is reach out for us! Come on, Rena! This is real! It's not too late! You still have choices you can make! So choose! You can still make it! Come on! It's not too late to start over again! Rena slowly reached out, and her hand touched ours. She didn't hold our hands. All she needed to do was to touch our hands to show us her will. Rena chose to live, to share her life with her friends, rather than to refuse them for the rest of her life. I took a step closer to her and firmly grabbed her wrist. It was getting dark, and some stars had appeared in the sky. We all forgave each other for our sins for the first time. And it was a little embarrassing, but Rena's tears made us all cry, and we just kept crying together. We stood in a circle, holding each other by the shoulder, and putting our heads together in the middle. We are a family made of friends. We forgave each other, and we're happy together. There's a memory in the back of my mind, but it's not supposed to exist. I tried to save one of my friends in that world. In order to do that, I rejected all of my other friends. I acted recklessly alone, and I brought about the end of the world. The situation we had here is the same as the incident in that faraway world, in the sense that people had been deprived of their lives in order to save one friend of mine, and the same fucking dude dies in both of them. Granted, Teppei wasn't Rena's main target, but still. But other than that, it was different. We have Rena, Mion, Satoko, Rika-chan, and myself. Nobody was missing. We were going to regain them. We were going to regain those happy and peaceful days. The road going there might be a little rough, but we'll walk it together. We all will. Nice. Very good. We went to the place in the mountains of Yagauchi that Rena had picked for burying the bags. Carrying corpses is a scary thing to do, but it made us united more strongly because of that. Since each part of the corpses is in a separate plastic trash bag, we can tell what's inside in each bag by touching it. First, we forced ourselves to laugh whenever we had to touch the bodies, because we were scared. But after a while, we got used to it, to the point where we could make jokes about it. Just picturing Satoko holding up the bag with Teppei's head in it, like, nah, look at me, I'm a fucking asshole, ha ha ha, whatever. Of course, all that was probably a bluff, but we all tried our best. Mion somehow had detailed knowledge of how to hide corpses. Good out of context line. And she told me to dig the hole deeper. Rika-chan helped to carry the bags. Satoko used her talent of setting traps to perfectly camouflage the place where we buried the bags. Me? I was in charge of digging the hole. Rena dug it earlier, but I made it a little deeper. After we finished all that, we walked back to the place where we parked our bicycles, and we looked back at the place where we buried the bags. It was completely unnoticeable. We'd never be able to find the place again once we left for home. That's how perfect it looked. Great! Thank you all for your hard work. We're done here. It's time to go home. Mion said it cheerfully, as if we just finished club activities or something. We had no more bags to carry, and we no longer had any burden to carry either. We got on our bicycles, but Rena was still standing there, looking into the distance. Hey, Rena.
What? I'm sorry. I think I got a cold or something. I feel feverish and dizzy.
Rena's face looked slightly red. Mion touched Rena's forehead. It actually was a little warm. She had a tough day today. She had to go through so many things. She had to find a place to hide the corpses. She had to dig a hole. We caught her with the bags. We talked about our feelings, and we forgave each other. She must be exhausted after a day like that. Rena, you should rest well when you get home.
Yes, thank you. I will.
Rena, we forgave each other for everything. So don't blame yourself anymore, okay?
You were right about me.
What do you mean?
I couldn't fool myself. No matter how hard I tried to justify what I did, I was still scared. Look at me. I'm still shaky, oh crap. Even with all the help I got from you. If you hadn't found me with the corpses, if I'd taken care of this alone, I wouldn't have been able to bear the burden. I'm pretty sure I would have been crushed by the pressure.
She said all this with a bitter smile. It might take her a long time to heal from the pain, but it must be 100 times shorter than the time it would have taken if she did this all alone. Rena's home was the closest from here. Rena went her way and the four of us were left behind. Mion made a suggestion. I think we should just forget about today. What do you think?
I agree. I think that would be best for Rena-san, too. Rena is a strong girl. If we act like nothing happened, she'll act that way, too.
If you keep acting for long enough, it becomes real, right? We'll be able to forget by not talking about it. Our goal is to forget about it completely.
I think we'll keep wondering whether or not the day of reckoning will come for the rest of our lives. You're probably correct. It's not going to be so easy to simply let it go.
Even if I can't forget about it for the rest of my life, that's fine by me. The most important thing is to keep it in my heart forever. The most important thing is that we don't make her think about it. We nodded in agreement just as my house came into view. Well, this is goodbye. See you at school. Just like always.
Just like always. I will set a perfect trap for you, just like always.
Goodbye, Kei-chan. Oh, alright, Rena's perspective now. After I parted with them, I still felt hot and dizzy. It felt really weird. I was even staggering to the front door. It felt as if I was floating in the air, like I just took some very strong cold medicine. Today, something very shocking, something that made me super happy, and something very embarrassing happened to me. I felt as if my heart and mind were about to explode because they were filled to the brim with both happiness and sadness. I don't know whether I made a crucial mistake today, or if I had the happiest day of my life. I don't know which it is, and all I could do was to stare blankly into space. I felt frustrated too. Even though they were my friends, I was caught in the act of abandoning the corpses. But at the same time, I felt relieved that my reliable friends accepted what I did. Those emotions were all mixed up in my heart, and they were equally strong, making it difficult for me to decide what I was feeling. I was losing my sense of balance. It was like the world was warping around me. I heard sounds as if I was in a shower. Everything left me with a feeling of unreality. When those emotions were about to make me lose control, I felt a heat on my wrist. The part where Keiichi-kun grabbed me earlier started throbbing. My feelings weren't cooperating with me, but the heat on my wrist calmed them down for me. I don't know how to express what I felt when my friends and I held shoulders together in a circle earlier, but the feeling was the only thing I knew to be real.
I'm home. Huh?
As soon as I opened the front door, I smelled it. It smelled really good. My father isn't good at cooking, but he likes trying to cook creative dishes. I remember he used to cook something very challenging whenever he was in a good mood. So, this smell was a sign that he felt that way. That's why I always liked this smell. The reason he's in a good mood is because he found a job. Not just any job, he found a job with a company created by friends from his old workplace. They remembered my father and promised to hire him. He told me that some of his other colleagues from the old company are also working there. Must be very encouraging for him to work with people he knows, because he hasn't worked for a long time. The dinner looked great in contrast to how it tasted. It was a dinner to celebrate his new life, to show his determination, to regain his bond with his daughter, and to make a clean start. I talked about a lot of things with my father that night. It had been a long time since the last time I talked with him like this. I don't remember when it was, but it reminded me of the days I was still happy, which meant that I'd finally returned to that time. My father still believes that Teppei is coming back one day, so he's still very cautious about locking the doors and windows, and he gets scared every time someone rings the doorbell. I told him so many times that they'd never come back, but I couldn't convince him because I couldn't tell him the reason why they won't. He'll eventually realize that he's free, I'm sure it won't take too long. My heart was full of many, many emotions that day. If emotion could actually burst the heart open, it might happen to me. My brain must have been overworked because so many things happened at once. My head was still fuzzy, but I managed to crawl into bed. I felt like the ground was moving. I totally lost my sense of reality. I remember that I once felt like this when I got the flu. I might get a high fever tomorrow. But I don't care. I don't care if I get sick tomorrow. I just wanted to enjoy the fact that I took a step towards the future of my decision. Keiichi-kun told me something like that today. The high fever and the dizziness made me feel frustrated for some reason. But whenever I felt frustrated, I felt the heat on my wrist too. I grabbed my wrist with my left hand tightly. It made the frustration go away, and it brought me relief. Even the dizziness I didn't like just before made me feel like I was in a down-filled futon. I was falling asleep in that down-filled futon, on my first night in a new world. This dizziness didn't go away for a few days, but I gradually got used to it. This new world looked like the world I used to live in before, but the sunshine was a little bit brighter, and Keiichi-kun's smile looked a little bit more gentle than before. We made more noise than we used to. We spent every day slowly, but in high spirits. Oh, what an idiot I am. I underestimated that dizziness, and I caught a summer cold in June. I wanted to get better as soon as possible. I should have taken a day off from club activities, but I forced myself to play with them every day, and that made it hard for me to get better. I finally learned my lesson recently. I don't need to feel frustrated. There's no limit to happiness in this world. As long as we keep wishing for it, it'll continue forever. I don't need to feel frustrated anymore, because tomorrow I will have the happiness I have today. We'll have the Watanagashi Festival next Sunday. Michan tells us that we'll have a lot of fun and that we'll go extra crazy. I really can't wait. Alrighty. That was fucking great, actually. Didn't expect there to be a slight time skip there, but oh well. By a few days. New tip, letter from the forestry office. Heh. Achievement unlocked, you're crying right now. No, I'm not. I could have, but I didn't. Letter from the forestry office. It's still June, yet the air is filled with the cries of cicadas. How is everyone in Hinamizawa doing? The Watanagashi Festival is coming just around the corner. We staff members from the Forestry Service are going to perform a wood sculpting demonstration at the festival. We'll be happy to lend out our tools and teach your kids how to sculpt wood themselves. It'll be an excellent memorial gift. Also, we would like to inform everyone that we're going to cut down trees in the local hills this summer as part of the number Ch.6 Fourth Forest Landscape Management Project. This project involves preserving the beauty of the forest by cutting down old trees and planting new ones. Okay. Get the feeling this is a bad thing for finding the bodies. The Forestry Service needs volunteers who are interested in helping us cut down the old trees. You can enjoy the beauty of nature under the blue sky while helping out with this preservation activity. The project will begin during summer break, so you can bring your kids too. This will be a good opportunity for your kids to learn about nature and have a valuable experience. The locations, of the project are the forests in the Takatsudo and Yagauchi areas. That feels like a good cliffhanger. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Short episode, I know. But a fucking good one. She believed that if she kept laughing that she would be happy. She believed that if she cared about someone, that person would care for her as well. Leaving the sad memories behind, the girl turned forward to face tomorrow. Without being spoiled, without relying on anyone all alone, to carve a path toward the future. What awaits her? Is it happiness? Is it unhappiness? Tsumihoroboshi. I wanted to love someone, but the truth is, I wanted to be loved. So I guess this is the halfway point of the chapter, huh? Just like after the 1982 section of Mayakashi. Cool, cool. Or I guess, well, probably not lengthwise the halfway point, but story-wise the halfway point, I guess. Well, that was a good fucking episode, I feel. Yes, a short one. We're only at like 45 minutes, but still, better a good short episode than a fucking boring long one, you know? Damn, that was insane. I still don't know whether or not I like this chapter more than Mayakashi, but I feel like the second act is gonna be the determining factor. Like, it's really gonna be the determining factor. So, yeah, that's gonna be it for this episode, guys. If you liked it, then be sure to press the like button. And if you didn't like it, then fuck you too. Remember to subscribe, follow me on Twitter, and hit that notification bell to stay up to date on all my videos and stuff. And as always, my name is Godzi, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye!